19... When did I write this? Frank? Who's this? Did you have a copy that's addressed to Frank, Jerry? Who gave this to Frank, Jerry?
I don't know.
And how'd you get a copy?
I don't know.
Is it addressed to Frank Zappa? Or is it a joke?
No, it's just...
1976. So this came out in 57. This is the 4th printing.
Okay.
This book was presented to Frank Zappa and Don Vliet, later known as Don Van Vliet and Captain Beefheart, a year after it came out in 1958 by me through my assistant and alias Paul Buff. Paul Buff then arranged for Don and Frank to join him at PAL Studios. And PAL was the rearrangement of the letters ALP. And ALP is half of Phineas Wake, the other half being HCE. These two people formed the code word chapel for the intelligence network I worked out of in New York, out of Paris. So the code was in the title, PAL Studios, and then we, and it was just outside, actually it was near here where I first encountered them. It may have been this place, which, as you can see, eventually changed its name in honor of my initiation of Don and Frank here into Bob's 2. In other words, I had worked for the House of York. I'd come to America, which is the House of Lancaster, and we decided to holeopathize the House of Lancaster and go to Lancaster, a place. And when I moved in here in 58 and would drop in here, eventually I acquired a bit of control over the local Grand Wazoo and acquired it for the House of Lancaster. And that's why the title means Bob's 2. The House of York was Bob's, and also the House of Lancaster, Bob's 2. Bob's also possessive, right? So this place is very close. If it wasn't the place, this name was put in years later. If this wasn't the place, it is very near to the place where I first encountered them in 58 and introduced them to the idea that the Hidden Persuaders was not the form of the media, but the content of the media, and that the satire of the content of the media was advertising. Actually, a Manipian satire of the form of the media. So this book initiated Frank and Don into the concepts of the fact that advertising was the true art form, and that if you were going to make music or sculpture, you had to reflect the brain police activities of advertising. That's why Frank later queried this situation, writing a song called Who Are the Brain Police? And so we're here coming back 38 years before 1998, when the X's come and Bob achieves his maximum in communication skills. 1958, 40 years before 1998. This is 1996. We're preparing and doing an X-Day drill here at Lancaster, where Bob first made his infiltration into the United States. And Don and Frank were trained with this manual. This was the obverse of Marshall McLuhan's book, The Mechanical Bride, which concentrated on the form of advertising. This concentrates on the content. Both are necessary in understanding the brain police. So as they got more used to my presence, they gradually got to know me as Paul Buff, and I introduced them to some of the most advanced technologies in studio recording and in entertainment, Hollywood recording. And that gave Frank an edge on everybody, and he took my studio over. Actually, he was there in 1963, but officially he took it over in 1964. And we had just been visiting that studio in the section of this videotape before this videotape. So refer back to that for what happened at Studio Z. So this is an homage to Frank and Don here at Lancaster, California. We have just returned from Briarwood Estates, where Don used to live with his mother, and we had a wonderful evening with Sue Vliet in her terms, and she was very happy to see me again. She said, "Paul, I haven't seen you in 19 years." That's right, it was 19 years since '77. And she said, "Paul, I remember the days when you'd come over here, the early mornings, I'd come into the kitchen, and my husband would just be getting into the bread truck, and there'd be you, Don, and Frank, And I always remember, she said this tonight, I always remember you kept talking about UFOs to them. And I thought it was rather strange. They didn't know what to think. But it looks like, Bob, as a result of the crop circles in England, that you were right. And I will forever be grateful to you to initiating my child and his friend into the mysteries of the universe before they became obvious mysteries. And that's what she said to us tonight. Didn't she say that, Connie? Scott? And Jerry? Yes. So that's why, after visiting Mrs. Vliet, we are here now, ending our journey on the 46th anniversary, no, the 41st anniversary, which is the obverse of 14. And we came to Lancaster via Route 14. And the 41st anniversary of Hiroshima, we are here to anticipate the end of the end times in 2 years, July 5th, 1998. So this is it, August 6th, 1996. A lot of sixes there. We're even phoning a person while we're coming out here whose phone number has 666 in it. The xenochrony is forever burdening me. It's not the white man's burden, it's Bob man's burden. The xenochrony of constant linguistic communication and mirroring back to Bob what he continually creates. Did we have any particular xenochrony? Oh yes, we passed by Claremont College. Colleges of Claremont? What was it?
Claremont College.
Claremont, Colleges of Claremont, or Claremont College. And there it was, the main stomping grounds of Peter Drucker, the man who brought over Fritz Kramer. And Fritz Kramer was the person who invented Kissinger. And now Peter Drucker, according to our sources, is the main consultant to the Newt Gingrich contract on America. Well, we passed by there, and right in the front entrance to this campus, you see the words Dartmouth Avenue. And so the mirror of language tells us that Dartmouth, where I spent many years, was symbolically monitoring Peter Drucker for the final battle of the Secret Council 10 in 1988. And it was me from Dartmouth who sent the information to May Brussel that cracked the case on Fritz Kramer, thanks to Peter Drucker's autobiography. So therefore, in the course of coming here to see Sue in Lancaster, we discovered that Dartmouth was haunting, that name was haunting Mr. Drucker at Claremont College for, let's say, 50 years. 40 years anyways. I think he arrived there in the 60s. So there it was, Dartmouth Avenue. Every day he walked under that street sign, not knowing that 30 years later it would synchronize with his colluding of recapitulating the fact that success is no failure at all. Thank you.
Wait, is
more?
What about Newt on the lawn?
Newt?
On the Newt.
Let's all remember that. What was the main
our encounter with? We just talked to Ray and Newt's on the lawn connection.
Right. You're thinking of 200 Motels?
And there's the train.
It's the old train that Don and Frank used to listen to while they listened to race records out of Mexico, and maybe Wolfman Jack, but probably before Wolfman Jack. What's your problem? Anyways, the lonesome train that Don and Frank remembered from the 30s and the songs and culture of the blacks, the Native Americans, the black Americans, the African Americans, the Americans who looked like they were black but were real Americans and didn't have to put a hyphen name in front of them. These people who entertained Frank and prepared him for the encounter for the ultimate black woman, me, Bob Dobbs, occasionally known as Paul Buff. Now, the interesting, Frank predicted, in his xenochrony, he predicted Bob's xenochrony, because in 200 Motels, one of the major mystery themes is newts. Newts are running amok in 200 Motels. So he linguistically, musically predicted the main syllable of the 90s, as he sings in 1988 on Broadway Hardway, when will he, singing about whether Pat Robertson will be president. He's going, will he be president 92, 96? I sure hope Frank says that he doesn't, or will he? Anyways, here it is, 96, and Pat Robertson's extension, Mr. Newt, is running amok in America, and it was predicted in the movie 200 Motels. Newts. Now, could you elaborate on the Newt theme? Or what do you know about the Newt theme in 200 Motels in particular?
I thought it was Newt's on the lawn, or what's the song?
He was was it Motorhead playing with the Newts?
Yeah.
There was a Newt.
Motorhead played with the Newts.
Well, he wasn't the Newt. He had the pilot hat on.
Yeah.
There was a newt. Maybe it was Dick Barber who was the newt.
Yeah.
No, he was the industrial vacuum cleaner. Anyways, there were anonymous newts in the movie. And isn't that amazing that the newts were into motels, and it was that word that plagues America in the 90s, Newt Gingrich.
Oh.
Oh, what? Ooh. Doesn't come with a warning label. Baskin Robbins, Chocolate Blast, yet. Okay, I'm Newt. I think that's the hidden point of Newt. Frank predicted it in his own musical collage, right?
Right. That's it.
Preferential, Frank's work predicting Bob's actual physical existence and what he has in his daily life of cultural interchange. Oh, assassination attempt! Let's end with that. She's either drunk or she's getting the point.
How are you going to explain to the throngs of masses, Connie's laughing in the background of this serious conference? Yeah, when this gets broadcast,
how am I going to explain to them?
Yeah,
Have I ever been asked to explain myself? No. They don't even let me back on to explain myself. This is always a one-time shoot. No, what are you asking? How am I going to explain what?
well, yeah, as millions of people begin to understand what's really going on via Bob's
prediction.
They hear Connie laughing in the background. How's Bob going to explain the laughter?
Well, when Carolyn, I was giving out new information.
When
so
you're
Carolyn,
laughing, you're learning.
Carolyn was learning new stuff. But the amazing thing is that what are they going to say about, what's Sue Vliet going to say? Yes, I do remember Bob visiting. When they interview you, she'll say, yes, I remember. That is all true. You watch. Slack works for me all the time. So that was pretty good, right?
Yeah.
But you see how it's Bob's too? After it was London Bob's, then it was Bob's too. How's things out of Lancaster? Gee. So we came all the way out here. Well, that was good.
Oh, okay.
And actually, we caught Bob lying for the first time in his life. End time day, August 6th. I actually lied about meeting Sue Vliet, right? But it was a means to an end, shall we say.
I knew
And people, everybody drove by was laughing. Did you notice? They were all like, they picked up some absurdity going on here. Did you wave at them? Yeah. Did he wave back?
Yeah.
Oh. We'll never know until we find out when Sue Vliet died whether that fucking manager was lying to us or not. Did you get that on tape?
Yeah.
Well, erase that. Oh, we're not telling you what they're lying about. But we'll never know until we find out whether Sue Vliet has died or not, whether we were lied to. Let's go. We're having a good time.